Good evening, friends. It is about 7:15 on June 28th, and I hope you had a nice weekend. I wanted to touch base with you all tonight about a couple of things. First, really enjoyed reading your papers. I'll be sending you scanned copies of your paper with written feedback over the next 24 hours or so. Just need to get them all scanned and uploaded, and then I'll email them to you individually. If you have any questions about the comments that I've given you, please let me know. Shoot me an email, a text, and I will be happy to. Talk with you about it. Really enjoyed what you had to say. Learned a lot about you, about your schools, and about your thoughts on leadership. So thank you for taking that process so seriously. I did notice as I was reading through the discussion forum posts something that I hadn't expected. While many of you are very familiar with the school improvement process, I learned that for some of you, the idea of data-driven decision-making, or really the process that we use for root cause analysis, is a new process. And so I wanted to take some time tonight just to talk a little bit about that process and to make sure that we are all working from the same set of language or the same basic knowledge base. I'm just working right now. I'm uploading some PowerPoints that will guide my conversation with you, and will also help keep us focused. I'll upload these PowerPoints to the Blackboard site for you to look at also at your leisure. Perhaps the best place for us to start is by defining what a root cause actually is. And so maybe the best way to do that is to think about the root itself. Think about a root planted deep within the ground. To find a root cause, what you're really looking for is the deepest, the most underlying cause or causes of any symptom, anything that you notice that's brought to your attention, good or bad. And if you were to dissolve that root, make that root go away, that symptom too will go away. Again, for good or bad, root cause analysis is far too often used to fix a problem. It also can be used by teams to identify what's working and why you think it's working. It's important to remember, though, that the root cause analysis process is a process. You can't fall into the trap, or you need to try to avoid falling into the trap of identifying the very first cause as your root cause. It's often the easiest. It even sometimes makes the most sense in the beginning. But as you dig deeper, we find that the root cause tends to be usually 3, 4, 5 layers down into a system. So just want to make sure you are aware of that and you don't jump to any conclusions. As an example, think about a fire. Root cause of the fire, right? It takes 3 elements to make a fire. Any of these could be the root cause: combustion, oxygen, or source of fuel. If you were to take any one of those away, the fire can't start or it can't continue to burn. But none of them in isolation is the source of the fire. And it's going to take a longer, more in-depth conversation to get to that answer. Symptoms, let me use that word symptoms a few minutes ago. In the context of this conversation, symptoms are found at the surface. They are the so-called red flag that draws your attention to an issue. It's usually a noticeable gap between what you expected and the reality. As an example, a school district may have a very high failure rate in the 9th grade. The expectations are that most students will successfully transition from the middle school to the high school. But the reality is that over 50% of all freshmen fail at least one course during the year. That failure rate is the red flag, as well as a symptom of a deeper underlying cause. If you want to eliminate the symptom, you've got to find that deep root cause, and you have to dissolve it. And there are lots of different processes for making that happen. And we'll talk about that as we get deeper into this course. So if you do the same thing over and over again, you probably are going to get the same results, right? And so I suggest that folks who do that have not really done their due diligence in determining what root cause may need to be addressed within their school improvement plan. Why root cause analysis? Following one of these processes, which I'll share with you in a few minutes, and which I share with you in the other PowerPoints, helps to reduce the problem, not just attack the symptoms. It eliminates short-term patching or Band-Aids. It's an example that was given to me years ago. Was you walk up to a person and you notice they're bleeding, their arm is bleeding, and so natural response is to put a Band-Aid on it to heal the wound. That doesn't actually heal the wound, it masks the problem. You don't put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You've got the bullet still in there, deep in the arm. Band-Aid is going to make the blood stop flowing, perhaps, but it doesn't fix the problem. A little morbid, I know, but it's an example that worked for me when I was new to this. There are a number of different tests for root cause. As I said, you were given some examples in the earlier PowerPoints, things like an affinity diagram or the fishbone process. 5 whys as an example. I'm going to give you an example of the 5 whys in just a few minutes. Any of those or any number of others work just fine. You choose the one that works best for your team. One of the biggest challenges that you have to face, though, as you dive into this work is to find ways to avoid your own cognitive bias, right? We go into the root cause analysis problem, or process rather, with our own ideas of what's going to fix things, because as educators, we're fixers. We have to try to avoid that and go in with a blank slate in our mind, be open to the possibilities. Otherwise, we risk falling into what Oakes refers to as cognitive laziness. Instead of looking for the optimum result, we look for the first result, and that's usually not the best. So just want to bring that to your attention, and then give you a little bit of a deeper dive into the 5 whys, just because it's the one that most folks who do this project choose to use. Why? Because it's the simplest method to determining a root cause. It requires that you drill deep until there is very little left to drill. The idea behind this is you ask the question why 5 times, and ultimately it will lead you to a root cause. You start by writing down the question or the specific problem you want to solve. For example, my car won't start. Why? Well, it has a dead battery. Okay, so I can go fix the battery, or I can go replace the battery. But that's that Band-Aid on the bullet wound, right? Because you didn't ask the question, why is the battery dead? Well, the battery is dead because you have a bad alternator. Well, why is the alternator bad? Because the belt's broken. Why is the belt broken? Because the belt was used beyond its useful life. Why was it used beyond its useful life? Because your 18-year-old son didn't do the maintenance that was recommended by you over and over again, having it replaced, and therefore the battery died. And so you could replace that battery. It doesn't do anything about the belt or about the son who ignored your recommendation, and you're going to wind up with another dead battery. Give you another example. Trevor is not making sufficient progress in reading to reach his expected goal. So an example closer to our jobs, right? Why? Why isn't he making that progress? Well, the pace of reading instruction is too fast for Trevor. Okay, so the quick answer could be what? Slow it down, put him in a different group, do some heterogeneous grouping, give him some one-on-one attention, maybe a second reading class. Or you could ask why. Why is the pace of reading too fast? Well, it's because no other reading group was available at his instructional need level. Okay, well, you could create another group, I suppose. You could ask yourself, why are the groups being created for the convenience of the school as opposed to the kid? But let's go with, why is there no other group available? Well, there's no other teaching staff available. Why is there no other teaching staff available? Because the number of reading groups needed requires all teaching staff. So there really, after asking why 4 times, you've gotten to what probably is the root cause. you've got a wide range of reading needs and not enough staff to cover it. And then you can start talking about what possible solutions could you have besides simply putting Trevor in a group where the reading instruction is too fast and he's doomed to failure. You could also follow a problem-solving approach, another question and answer process. Where are we now? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And what's holding us back? Doesn't take us as deep as the 5 whys, but it's certainly a process you could use in the school improvement planning process. And in the PowerPoint, I've given you a couple of examples of the problem-solving approach that you can review kind of on your own. Oftentimes I get asked, when do we stop seeking a cause? When do we know we've found the root cause? And the best answer I can give you is your best professional judgment. You've got to decide. I've looked at enough data. We've asked the questions we've needed to ask. We're not 100% sure we've reached the root cause, but we've put in everything we have to get there, and this is what we've come up with. And remember what I said earlier, even if you didn't find the true root cause, by fixing one of the possible root causes, you're definitely going to at least be improving the symptoms. So I've given you a few other slides in here you can go through to talk about how to figure out you've finally reached that root cause. The last piece is once you found a root cause, you actually have to develop the school improvement plan, right? And we will talk next time. At the end of this week, I'll include in my presentation some information about holding what we call crucial conversations. These are the discussions you have to have with your colleagues that are often really difficult to have, but necessary if you and your school are going to make true long-term and systemic change. The second slideshow that I'm going to post takes root cause analysis in a slightly different direction, looking instead at technical and adaptive challenges. I talked earlier about the fact that when you're in the school improvement process, what you're really doing is identifying what gaps exist between what you expected and what you have, and how you can close those gaps. Another question you want to ask is this a technical challenge, something that can be fixed with a kind of a simple tweak in process, or is this more of an adaptive challenge, one that requires changes in thinking and practice? If it is in fact an adaptive challenge, there are some processes that I've provided you that you and your team can use as a next step. You've identified the root cause, the adaptive challenge, which the root cause needs to be addressed to fix, and there is a process you can go to sort of take those next steps. So that PowerPoint gives you lots of good examples of how to go about fixing an adaptive challenge. So that's about it for now, I think. I hope you'll find these presentations to be of value. Hope you found my conversation with you tonight to be of value. I rambled a little bit about root cause analysis, but I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page. It seemed pretty clear to me that we have a pretty wide range of understanding out there about RCA. So that's about it for now. Hope you all, as I said, had a good weekend, that you are going to enjoy your upcoming week from home. Hopefully you're not spending too much time teaching summer school, or hope you're spending some time enjoying your family, enjoying your friends, and enjoying some peace and quiet. With that, I will say good night and goodbye, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again sometime soon in the threads.